सबैलाई नमस्कार, स्वागत छ। मेरो प्रस्तुति चाहिँ धेरै एकाडेमिक पनि छैन, केही एकाडेमिक पिन्च अफ एकाडेमिक्स भन्छु मैले यहाँ, कहाँ मैले अलिअलि चिमुटेको छु, एन्ड सम प्र्याक्टिकल एस्पेक्ट्स आर देयर। सो ल्याङ्ग्वेजको पर्सपेक्टिभमा आई थिङ्क आई विल गो अन स्विचिङ, कोड स्विचिङ, आई थिङ्क द्याट वुड बी बेटर। त्यसरी जान्छु, ठिकै हुन्छ होला होइन? ओके, so I think you can see my name. I am Parbat Dhungana. I work for Kathmandu University in a department called Sustainable Development Program Unit. We have a master program over there. So to start with, I may interact, so just feel free. We will have a very interactive session. So you may pop up in between also. Just let me know till I finish it. Just you can raise your hand. So you don't have to wait to the end. So we will just make it semi-formal way of presentations. If I ask a question, so what is sustainable development? दिगो विकास के हो भनेर प्रश्न सोध्यो भने सजिलो हुन्छ कि दिगो विकास के होइन भनेर प्रश्न सोध्यो भने सजिलो हुन्छ होला?
सोध्दै नसोध्नु ठिक होला।
You see the discourse, how comprehensive is sustainable development? हैन, यो यति ठुलो छ यो। मेरो रुट चाहिँ वास्तवमा साइन्सै हो, but gradually marching ahead I went to social science and then furthering into education arena where I try to teach these subjects, deliver these subjects, and then build up certain knowledge, capacity, competence to the students who want to work on this area. So यो 18 कुरो रहेछ के, it's so comprehensive that it's challenging to bring out the things within these 45 minutes. अब मैले के गर्छु भने यो सबै नसकिसकेपछि के गर्छु, I have two options. Either I should select a small thread and go detail. मैले सानो चीज पक्रेर डिटेल जानु पर्यो. And as I see you are from different arena, so that would not be very fair for you. कसैलाई चाहिँ राम्रो लाग्ला, म सोशल डाइमेन्सनमा गयो भने तपाईहरु टेक्निकल स्टुडेन्ट हुनुहुन्छ, मन नपर्ला. म चाहिँ ग्लोबल क्लाइमेट चेन्ज भने हैन, एल निनो इफेक्ट भन्न थाले भने फेरि टेक्निकल होला धेरै, त्यो कसैलाई मन नपर्ला. So I will move on the canopy. So basically I will refer to one of the studies that was done by Ofsted, Office of Standards of Education 2015. त्यसले के भन्दो रहेछ भने चाहिँ सिकाइको बल चाहिँ कहाँनेरि हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ there are different ways that we teach, learn. तपाईहरु प्रयोग किन गर्नुहुन्छ थाहा छ होला तपाईहरुलाई. सिमुलेसन किन गर्नुहुन्छ कक्षामा थाहा छ. लेक्चर किन जानुहुन्छ थाहा छ. त्यो नलेजको होल्डिङ र ट्रान्सफर र स्किल ट्रान्सफरको हिसाबमा सबैभन्दा कमजोर तरिका भनेको लेक्चर हो, जुन आज म गर्दैछु. सो अब यसले कति सिकाउँछ भन्ने कुरामा चाहिँ मलाई थाहा छ, बिकज आई अल्सो वर्क फ्रम साइन्स टु एजुकेसन. यसले के गर्छ भने तपाईहरुलाई अवेरनेस जगाउँछ. सो my purpose for today is to develop a sensitivity towards you regarding sustainable development. This is the main objective. Okay, so I want you to travel with me as we travel in Kathmandu traffic. So मैले चाहिँ यो बाइकमा लिएर जान्छु तपाईहरुलाई. The travel will go with something like this. We will talk about environment as we have been talking, and this is one of the theme of the conference. Okay, and then we will talk about education. And in मेरो entity चाहिँ sustainable development through education भएकोले I will try to fit in these components. How does it fit in? I will try to explain it, my understanding, my experiences. त्यस पछाडी यो कहाँनेरि च्यालेन्जेस छ म अलिकति ब्रिफली जान्छु यहाँ, because I have been quite engaged with learning about like एजुकेसनको पार्टमा यो स्किल ट्रान्सफरमा कहाँनेरि च्यालेन्ज छ भन्ने कुरा सिक्न खोजिरहेको छु. म नेपालमा पनि एक दुईवटा स्टडी गरेको छ, त्यसको रिफरेन्स लिएर केही बोल्छु म. यो किन कन्सर्न हुनुपर्ने हो भन्ने कुरा गर्छु. And then maybe I will leave for you to think for one practices that you go back home and start it immediately, so that you will also come aligned to sustainable development. घर जानुस् एउटा केही सुरु गर्नुस् भन्ने हिसाबमा कुरा गर्छु. So I want the session to be interactive. As usual, a teacher's wants. Is that fine? Okay. So I am in the front. Maybe you can feel yourself being a billion writer. Okay? तपाईं पछाडी हुनुहुन्छ. So I will take you ahead. Okay, can you guess what is this? How many of you can you guess? I think this is a flight plane, something is being loaded, I can guess that. But I couldn't guess this object. Okay, here we have someone to guess.
Hard disk.
He says this is a hard disk. Do you agree?
No. Something chemical?
Okay. Okay, I don't want to keep you folded for more moment. यो हार्ड डिस्क हो यो हार्ड डिस्क हो यो पेन्टागन अमेरिकन सेक्युरिटी एजेन्सीको हार्ड डिस्क हो एउटा ठाउँबाट अर्को ठाउँ लगिदैछ यो 1955 को पिक्चर हो यो अनि यो हार्ड डिस्कको क्यापेसिटी सुन्नुहुन्छ यो हार्ड डिस्कको क्यापेसिटी 5 MB हो तपाईको पकेटमा पेन ड्राइभ छ है कति MB को छ कि मिलेन जीबी भन्नु पर्यो ल हेर्नुस् you see the change is it a change is it an admirable change good so every change is not bad okay what do you see over here I understand this is a student. He's trying to interact with, I don't know, that's an object. That's no person over there. There's something dead. Actually, this is my rival. If I think in one way, this is an I professor, the technology professor, right? Mero rival, mero dushman. If the thing goes on that way, maybe I would not be in front of you teaching in the same way. I believe that many of you have gone to many of those online courses, which is self-learn, which makes you self-engaged, sometimes more interesting than when we are in front of you. Right? हामी अगाडि हुनुभन्दा पनि झनै रमाइलो हुन्छ नि त अब यसमा एउटा ब्युटी के रहेछ भने the way the education is being delivered is say something else. It's 1-to-1. एउटा मान्छेले एउटालाई पढाइरहेछ एट द सेम टाइम इट्स 1-to-many त्यही समयमा सँगै के भइरहेछ एउटाले धेरैलाई पनि पढाइरहेछ एट द सेम टाइम many corresponds with many and there is even a collaborative learning okay so these are some of the good points of technology later on I will ask you can just keep things in mind यति राम्रो चीज भइरहेछ हैन अब बिग्रिरहेको चाहिँ के छ त वी कल इट तीनवटा मोडल भन्छौं हामी इन्टरेक्सन ह्युमनको मोडलको पर्सपेक्टिभमा one is deterministic environmentalism model one is possibilism model and then the next we talk it about is interactionalism okay so a possibilistic model perspective ले हेर्दाखेरि मान्छेले गर्न सक्छ चुनौतीहरुको सामना गर्न सक्छ भन्ने मोडलले हेर्दाखेरि यस्ता यस्ता चीजहरु आइरहेछन् there's a less chance of failure. What I'm going to ask you later on is that you need to say about what are the global risks ahead. त्यसो भएदेखि भविष्यका global risks के हुन् त Is environment really a serious risk? If it is, then why it is a risk? हो भने त्यो किन रिस्क हो यो कुरो बुझाउँदाखेरि त हामीले इन्भाइरोमेन्ट एजुकेसन पनि बुझायौं होला सस्टेनेबल डेभलपमेन्ट को कन्सेप्ट पनि थ्रु एजुकेसन बुझायौं होला सबै रिस्क बुझाउनु पर्यो नि त इन्भाइरोमेन्ट मात्रै भने हैन यहाँ मैले चाहिँ के एज्युम्सन पाइरहेको छु भने मेनी अफ अस ग्रेजुएट्स आर अफ स्कलर्स आर अफ इन्भाइरोमेन्ट सो आई एम टेकिङ मोर रिफरेन्स अफ इन्भाइरोमेन्ट बट डोन्ट टेक इट अन दैट वे व्हेन वी से सस्टेनेबल डेभलपमेन्ट देयर आर मोर फेसेट्स अन इट यसमा अरु पक्षहरु पनि छन् ओके यु सी व्हाई वी नीड एजुकेसन शिक्षा किन चाहियो त What the small kid says that I cannot wait as I have to do these things later. म पर्खिनै सक्दिन पछि गर्नै छ त्यही भन्ने हैन हामीले if you are small and then want to learn more and more अब ठुलोले के भन्दो रहेछ भने मेरो अनुभवले जानेको मैले मेरो छोरीलाई के भन्छु मेरो अनुभवले जानेको सुन न मैले सिकेको कुरा you should learn it so you see the things what I have learned in my years I even want to make it a compact pen and learn it very fast अनि एजुकेसनले त्यो ब्युटी दिदो रहेछ के जुन चाहिँ म भन्दा अघिकोले 10 वर्ष लाएर सिक्नु भएको थियो हैन अथवा एडिसनले चाहिँ 3 महिना लाएर आविष्कार गरेको चीज म स्क्रैच गरेर क्याल्कुलेट गरेर एकछिनमा बुझ्न खोज्छु हैन and that is the beauty of education हो नि त they could have devoted years and then we learn it within an hours okay so that's why there is the importance of education and then education should work exactly on the same way as I feel it if we are not able to make it work on that way maybe there is something wrong in our education. This is also one of a study that was done in Korea. I don't want to make it more personal. This is actually the English teacher. A robotic English teachers in South Korea teaching for grade 5, 6 exactly, I forget it. If you just look at the web regarding English language experiment with robotics in South Korea, you will find it. त्यहाँ चाहिँ अङ्ग्रेजी पढाउन अलिकति गाह्रो रहेछ अब because they use native language in many of those. So they tried the robot teachers for 3 months quarter that they use it. And त्यसपछि they made a test. शिक्षा कस्तो लाग्यो त अब एउटा ह्युमन टिचर थियो अर्को रोबोट टिचर्स थियो अनि शिक्षा कस्तो लाग्यो भनेर हेर्दाखेरि चाहिँ व्हाट कुड बी द रिजन के लाग्छ तपाईहरुलाई obviously अब ह्युमन टिचरको त सिम्प्याथी हुन्छ के हुन्छ अब अरु बिहेभियर्स होला but the rating was entirely opposite. They liked the robotic teachers. And for one most common reason why they like these robotic teachers, सबैले एउटा रिजन चाहिँ रोबोट टिचर किन मन पर्यो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ the robot teacher never got annoyed. You ask as many as time you say, it never got annoyed. So there is education not only for the students over here, it's also for the teacher. Okay, so let's move these enemy. Okay. Now one thing, what we should know about it is what really competition is. We are in a mass education philosophy. तपाईहरु 20 जना 50 जना 60 जना कक्षा कोठामा बस्नुहुन्छ पढ्नुहुन्छ. And one of the greatest things what you do while doing your academic aspect is that you do these things, हैन? त्यही त हो नि हामीले गर्ने. And it's natural. No way. Don't think that it is not natural. यो गर्न नआउने होइन, it's natural. It's natural, okay? And we need these things. There's a balance in between these things. अब यो this is the prey, this is the predator, हैन? यसले predate गर्ने भयो त्यसलाई. If the deer finds out the way to make it safe, उसले आफूलाई बचाउने कुनै वैकल्पिक एकदम राम्रो उपाय निकाल्यो भने सिंहले के गर्नु पर्यो? उसलाई बाँच्नु छ भने त्यो भन्दा पनि राम्रो उपाय निकाल्नु पर्यो, हैन? च्यालेन्ज भयो भने यहाँनिर के भयो भने the entire humanity has developed so many crises. And these crises are again pinching us back. There is a boomerang. So coming up with the whole sequence of development, including the environment, this is becoming a counterfeit to us. So that's why we need something else. Some more visible aspects which could address the challenges, even the reversing these challenges. That's why we think for now, we concluded that sustainable development could be the best option. And these things are natural. And when you are altering these things, the natural law, and then we are again propagating the challenges. We have been repeating those things. Okay, so there are lots of reasons that we need to think about the changes. There are lots of things that we need to move away from what we have been doing. These are some of those just to point it out. So environment is obviously a challenge. Now we don't talk only about health, how it goes in narrow definitions, we talk more about it. And there are things that gets linked over there that we call it as ecological sociology. Ecology is not alone. So that's why I don't prefer no more telling a word environment science. I want it to be linked with the people attributes aspects. Maybe linking to what people have been doing in their different facets. Maybe as sir tried to link with the farmers. So farmers सँग तपाईले लगेर environment जोड्नु भने के हुन्छ? Economy जोडिन्छ आफै के. So environment and economy comes over there together. So for any of those sciences that we study is basically for the welfare of humankind. So it could be very isolated when you try to see any of those sciences in segregation. So it's always essential to see the benefits of science and technology in relation to humankind. And that is what sustainable development takes. So it's easy to say in this way. It looks quite abstract, but it's more difficult when you want to transfer this knowledge and skills to the next generations. So sustainable development, educating for sustainable development is quite a difficult thing. So before that, we may need to understand more aspects of education. So in a summary, like about these pictures, what I want to take it is, change is essential. And change is a continuous process. And there are slogans that we say that there is only one thing which is confirmed and always going on, and that's change. Okay. So you may need to these things cope with the situations that you like. You may adopt that. You may partially like. You may adapt. You may completely like. You may adopt. You admire, or sometimes you may even resist. Okay. You need to accelerate the learning. हामीले जुन गतिमा सिकिरहेका छौं, अघिल्लो पुस्ताले जुन गतिमा सिकिरहेको छ त्यो नपुग्न सक्छ. हामीले अलिकति छिटो सिक्नु पर्ने हुन सक्छ. अहिले हेर्नु न. अब मैले चाहिँ सेट पढेको 11 मा आएर अहिले सेट 4 मा आयो. I'm talking about mathematics. So accelerate learning is a natural phenomena. Okay. So that is where education is important. We need to change our practices. हामीले फेर्नु पर्यो हाम्रो शैलीहरुलाई. And then we must compete. हैन देखिहाल्नु भयो. My dearest one will put me here on the back to make me fall. So we need to compete. At the same time, we also need to succeed. So who can help over here is education is a tool, and education can help us. And it makes us enabling well-being. So well-being is not a small term. If you want to know more about well-being, you can see a lots of literatures, how well-being is established. And what is the relationship in between the ecosystem services and the well-being of people. We talk about technically into 4 or 5 categories of services, based upon the people who makes it in the tax act. They classify गरेको कुनैमा 3 होला, कुनैमा 4 होला, कुनैमा 5 होला. But the most important thing is that how they contribute to the well-being. And how can we make people realize about this link? If you make people realize about this link, the ecosystems, the ecology will be conserved. Otherwise, it goes business as usual. Okay, let me take you in humor now. It's a little bit. So I told you it's not very academic. I will take you some even to and fro. Say, this is an incident. I need to tell you a story before you read these things. You will find it even in Google if you see the jokes. It's really humorous, but I have used it in a metaphoric sense. So please take it metaphorically. There are no intentions to portray the person's image over here. So forget about Lalu and Bill Gates if you know them. So what Lalu wants it. Do you know Lalu? Okay. Okay. Who speaks Bihari language, and he used to be the chief ministers over there. He wanted to work in a Microsoft office. Okay, Microsoft INC. And then he made an application, and he received the answer. So this was the answer that he received. You do not meet our requirement. Please do not send any further correspondence. I can hear an echo. Is it fine with you? को सुनिरहेछ है. Shall I stop this? Okay, you can read it over there. You do not meet our requirement. Please do not send any further correspondence. No phone calls shall be entertained. Thanks. What does it mean? यसले के भन्छ? के मान्यो भने? जागिर पायो कि पाएन लालुले?
पायो.
पायो?
पायो अब त फोन गरेर पर्दैन.
Thanks. You make a sense of language in that way. Okay, your education is strong. Normally your language coaching, if you try to make it understandable language, हामीले बुझ्दाखेरि चाहिँ यसले जागिर पाएन हैन, फोन सुन नगर्नु भन्यो. तर अब के गर्यो भने यो पत्र पाएपछि लालु प्रसाद चाहिँ खुसी भयो अरे. अनि उसले के गर्यो, प्रेस कन्फरेन्स बोलायो. उसले प्रेस कन्फरेन्समा चाहिँ के भन्यो भने, भाइयों बहनों, मुझे जागीर मिल गई है पर लेटर इंग्लिश में है, इसको ट्रांसलेट करना पड़ेगा, मैं ट्रांसलेट करके सुनाऊंगा भनेर उनले ट्रांसलेट चाहिँ तपाईँ यसरी भन्यो. प्यारे लालु प्रसाद भैया, you do not meet, लाई मात्रै उसले लियो सेगमेन्टलाई, and then he said, आप तो मिलते ही नहीं हो. Our requirement, हमको तो बहुत जरूरत है. Please do not send any further correspondence. अब लेटर वेटर भेजने का कोनो जरूरत नहीं. No phone calls, फोनों का भी जरूरत नहीं. Shall be entertained, बहुत खातिर की जाएगी. आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. तुहर बिलवा. So it's a good humor, but actually the way the things are being translated in an education is exactly same in our context. Where I want to relate you to one of my studies that I have done in 2011 regarding how environment goes to policy, and then from policy how it goes to curriculum, from curriculum how it goes to syllabus, from syllabus how it goes to textbook, and from textbook how it comes to you. So you see there are so many translation steps over there. In one translation, if this havoc can happen, यस्तो हुन सक्छ भने त्यहाँ त्यति धेरै ट्रान्सलेसन स्टेपमा कतिवटा कम्पोनेन्ट बिग्रिन्छ होला. ल सोच्नुस् त, if peoples are not well informed about the process of translation. Let me tell you an example how it happens in our bureaucratic schedules. The person who has translated partially, as I remember, is working in touch with CDC, he was transferred as an DO to next zone, and the next person comes over here. So I think I don't need to say more about these things. Okay. So it has a good policy intact, but like the challenges lies on its translations towards developing curriculum, and then curricular aspect to syllabus, and then syllabus comes to the textbook, where a textbook goes on a form of an on a prescriptive way some group of people work, and then there is no much to and fro communications. I don't want to recall those moments of looking those textbooks and commenting, because as I have been outsider for all of those processes. But it's interesting, you can just guess it. So this is one of my challenges. Okay? So I think yesterday there was a sequence of telling about these two things. That's why I came it over here. It was in 1988 that we had a national conservation strategy where World Conservation Union, IUCN, now we call WCN in history, if you look at it. More popular name was World Conservation Union. And it was a mandate for every country to have their conservation strategy. And we have that. And following, we have a sectoral conservation aspects also. And then we have it is the Environment Protection Council, as mandated by strategy in 1991 to 93. They produced 3 volumes of reports. I had a very hard time collecting all of these reports. Anyway, National Conservation Strategy. I was very lucky. I communicated to Switzerland. I could not find it in NPC library, which should pull it. And then the secretariat, someone who was working in a communication profile, said that, oh, I found one in my library, so I will fetch you in an email. So I have got a hard copy of Nepalese document that was mailed from Switzerland to Nepal. Okay, so this is our institutional record system. And then if anyone wants to make a copy of National Conservation Strategy, if you don't have it, I have it. Okay. So you see there is a challenges on these aspects of translation, and that is where we need to work it out. Okay. So there are lots of opportunities that we can work on many of those areas. Now I will again go to the very basic things to make you understand about what is sustainable development education. So what is education? Is it being informed education? Cases, हामीले थाहा पाउनु भने शिक्षा. How many of you say yes? Okay, a good numbers. Okay, being informed is education. Okay. If I say that being informed may not be enough, maybe you should also be knowledgeous, and that is education. Informed भनेको त थाहा छ, हैन? आँपको रुखमा आँप फल्छ, थाहा छ नि, हैन? Everyone knows that. So being knowledgeous is more than that. तपाईं आँपको बिरुवा रोपेर चाहिँ फलाउन खोज्नु भयो भने 2 वर्षमै फल्दैन हैन सर? आँप चाहिँ फल्दैन नि, बिरुवाबाट कलमैबाट चाहिँ बरु 1 वर्षमै फल्छ, हैन? सो आँप फल्छ मात्रै भने चाहिँ इन्फर्म भयो. नलेजियस भनेको चाहिँ के त रहेछ त? ए मैले यो आँप फलाउनलाई यो मात्रै लगेर रोप्दा चाहिँ फल्दैन रहेछ है. It takes 2 years at least in order to mature for it. It doesn't grow over here in these climates. Is that enough? What do you think? Is that education? How many of you now believe that if you are informed and you are knowledgeous about that, तपाईलाई थाहा छ, तपाईं त्यसको बारेमा ज्ञान राख्नुहुन्छ भने शिक्षा भयो, हैन? ठीक हो? दुईटै हुनुपर्ने हो. हात उठाउनुस् ल, दुईटा हुनुपर्ने भन्नेले. एउटा मात्रै हुने त हुँदैन थियो. अझै हुनुपर्ने हो. अझै के हुनुपर्ने? You need to be educated. Skill हुनु पर्यो, हैन? Good. I will come to the word educated. And maybe यसपछि educated भन्नाले चाहिँ we talk about skills also. तपाईलाई त्यसलाई सिप पनि चाहियो होला नि त. And then you know about its growing. Maybe तपाईलाई skill पनि छ, you have work in simulation. तपाईले चाहिँ okay. You have work in simulations and then but you are not ready to go for it. The readiness and the confidence to have it, that's not education. You should have all of these factors. Okay. For me, like how I see education is that they should have an equal development of all of these domains. You should have a head, you should have a hand, you should have a heart, and you should wrap a competency window on you to do those things. This makes an education. Okay. So maybe environment, how do you define it? Surrounding, that's the common definitions that we have been using. Lots of textbook. Maybe you within a surrounding, it's not only surrounding, you are also there. Maybe I prefer this one, Brown's model of ESP, ecological systems theory, where you are there, the surrounding is there, you have interactions in between, and there is a boomerang in between you. तपाईले जे गर्नुभयो उले पनि केही गर्छ हामीलाई. Tangible world को perspective मा. But there are something more temporal and then geographical aspects also. समय पनि छ नि त. समय पनि environment मै आयो नि त. It's not the same type of interactions that happens in every time frame. हैन? It differs. So I think when we talk about environment, we cannot forget about those intangible sense of space and time. Okay, now when these things get combined, then we get environment education. And these are the formal declarations of start of environment education, starting with Belgrade Chapter 1975, and coming with 10 criterions in 1977. And then later on, we gradually find that these things are not enough. If you talk about environment education, basically there are two aspects. One is the literacy aspects that you mostly, the science student, focus on, and there is the behavioral aspects that mostly the educational dimensions focus on. तपाईलाई थाहा छ फोहोर गर्नुहुन्न भन्ने कुरा हैन, यहाँ कहाँ यस्तो हलमा यहाँ फोहोर गर्नुहुन्न भन्नुहुन्छ, फोहोर गर्नुहुन्न गोजीमा हाल्नुहुन्छ फुलहरू, उ त्यहाँ गेट बाहिर लगेर फाल्नुहुन्छ. That's a behavioral aspect that should change. Okay. But the challenges doesn't end over here. यतिले challenge चाहिँ end हुँदैन है. Environment मात्रैले चाहिँ challenge end होइन. We have lots of global risk. If you look out World Economic Forum 2018 report, they have listed these risks, and then environment comes in the first number one, obviously, as we have expected. And the next risk for these 18 is geopolitical tension. Your conflict, geopolitical tension. This is the next one, and then that goes on. It's interesting now. It was really interesting for me. I've been tracking this report from 2015. Risk from emerging technology is there in third number. अहिले यो सिस्टमहरु यसरी इन्टिग्रेट गरेको छ कि टेक्नोलोजीमा हैन, सानो टेक्नोलोजी फेलरले यहाँ ब्ल्याकआउट हुन्छ, टेलिफोन जान्छ, हस्पिटलको सर्भिसेस जान्छ. अब त्यहाँ चाहिँ फेरि इट्स भेरी हाइली ससेप्टेबल टु बी अट्याक्ड. So it comes, that's why then higher risk. So we need to think about it even more. You will find a lots of list over there if you want to go. I'm not playing the video, it was there small. Now why we are concerned is that if someone poses you a gun and then say that you give me this, give me this, give me this, what do you say? Yes, 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 take it, yeah. हैन, सबै दिने हो नि त, जे मागे त्यही दिने हो नि त. अबको क्वेशन च्यालेन्ज के हो भने, the things that we have done in past is a gun to us. And त्यो भएर चाहिँ हामीले yes sustainable development भन्नु पर्यो. अब यही चीज बुझाउने कुरा नेक्स्ट जेनेरेसनलाई हामी आफैलाई sustainable development केले बुझाउने भन्दाखेरि educations can make it. There are synonymous tools that have been used for these, हैन. UNESCO ले ESD use गर्ला, academia ले EFS use गर्ला, development sector ले sustainability education use गर्ला. That's their preference and then even their hallmark to for these aspects. आफ्नो बनाएको हो. So education head. What do you say? Now, this is a challenge. You can see like we are trapped over here. The person, people know that, but I can't compromise today. आज त होइन भोलिदेखि. So EFS requires whole system inquiry actually. सबै चीज आउनु पर्ने छ के यो अप्ठ्यारो छ एजुकेसनको पर्सपेक्टिभमा. It requires a whole system inquiry and that it makes grand challenges. But the solution is again sustainable development should be implemented first through education. We should be convinced. Is it okay? How far they would go? कति पर पुग्छन् यिनीहरू? How far they can plan? 100 kilometers? No? 100 किलोमिटर? जाँदैन है? 100 किलोमिटर जान्छ? गाह्रो छ.
4-5 दिन
जान्छ कि जाँदैन? How far will it go? No guesses. Okay, fine. You can guess how far will it go. Isn't it same?
Yes.
Let me take you a quick move to the development history. So, scientific revolutions, we came up to sustainable development. But interestingly, we hold the hangovers of everything else. As maybe the early evening biscuits that comes to the next day also, as you might have experienced some of you. त्यो hangover चाहिँ आइरहेको छ हामीलाई. त्यो के छ भने the scientific revolutions hangover is still over there. Enlightenment is we develop a technology and we are industrial mass production. त्यसले हुन्छ काम गर्छ भन्ने चीजको अलिअलि hangover अझै सबै माथिल्लो स्टेपको hangover तल आइरहेको छ. And that is the one of the major reasons that why we cannot transform ourselves being aligned with sustainable development. And that's where education becomes very, very important. And we cannot see it in segregation. त्यसलाई छुट्याएर हेर्न मिल्दैन. If you try to see it, every goal is linked. गरिब किन झन् धेरै गरिब भइरहेको छ भन्दाखेरि he became more susceptible with the diseases as the morning session. And what is the reason for that is environment influences. So that is the reasons why we have these last goal, partnership for the goals, not only on an aspect of institutions, but also on aspects of each of those attributes. अब यत्रो धेरै गोल किन भएको होला भनेर सोच्नुभयो भने यसको रिजन के होला? यो सबै च्यालेन्जलाई एड्रेस गर्न खोजेको हो हैन? खानुपर्ने चाहिँ ठुलै पाउरोटी हो, तर एकैचोटि त खाइदैन। त्यसै टुक्रा टुक्रा गर्दै एसेस गर्यो भने त इट ह्यापन्स अ टाइम वी क्यान कम्प्लिट इट. So that's why we try to segregate and then address each of those area problems so that we can have a solutions on those areas. So this is a tool towards sustainable, where we split it into n goals, and the initiation is taken by UN. So this is not actually only a developmental agenda. This is actually the earth need. You don't need to relate it to that this is a development sector is coming, it's something different from academia. No. यसलाई चाहिँ सजिलो कसरी इन्टरभ्यानलाई सजिलो गर्ने त पोलिसी र इम्प्लिमेन्टले हेर्ने हो नि. एकाडेमियाले त रिसर्च आउट गर्छ नि त, इम्प्लिकेसन्स भनिदिन्छ. सो इम्प्लिमेन्टेसन ग्राउन्डमा के गरी सजिलो हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि लजिकल इस्युज कम्स ओभर देयर. सो मेकिङ इट इन्टु एन्ड गोल इज एड्रेस टु लजिकल एस्पेक्ट्स. So I just want to end over here. Take home message from the interaction is conventional trial to development has made a lot of scars in an individual level. हामीले कल्चर हरायौँ भन्यौँ. There are a lot of individual culture प्यारो हुनेलाई कल्चर हरायो. In an organism levels, in an ecosystems, in an society practices, and then we even have been doing, we are not being able to put ourselves from business as usual habits. So there we need an education in order to sensitize, help, develop a competence in ourselves. हाम्रै लागि चाहिएको चिज हो अहिले. So what sustainable development education does, when we see power adults, they say that empower learners with sustainability competences so that we will be able to accept it, हुन्छ भन्ने कुरा विश्वास हुन्छ, and then we can move ahead. Okay. And finally, as a lot of graduates and then scholars are there who are on mid-careers, and maybe you are studying, what I want to say is that there is a higher accountability of an basic education towards more precise returns. तपाईँलाई कन्टेक्चुअल बेसिक एजुकेसन चाहिन्छ, तर माथि आएको एजुकेसन चाहिँ मेरो लागि कन्टेक्चुअल भएन भनेर ब्लेमिङ गर्नु भनेको चाहिँ इट्स अ मोर अर लेस अ साइकोलोजिकल डिस्प्लेसमेन्ट एस्पेक्ट. त्यसलाई कन्टेक्स्ट थ्योरी पढिन्छ, वी निड टु मेक इट कन्टेक्चुअलाइज बिकज यु वान्ट टु लर्न एब्स्ट्र्याक्ट थिङ्स एन्ड एट द सेम टाइम यु वान्ट टु गो फर अ कङ्क्रिट थिङ्स. द्याट्स नट पोसिबल. अर्ली यु हेभ लर्न टु मेक इट कङ्क्रिट फ्रम एब्स्ट्र्याक्ट. तल चाहिँ तपाईँ कङ्क्रिट गरेर त्यसलाई एब्स्ट्र्याक्ट बनाउन सिक्नु भएको हुन्छ अन्डर ग्रेजुएटसम्म, र माथि गइसकेपछि तपाईँले एब्स्ट्र्याक्ट सिक्नुहुन्छ किनभने यु आर अलरेडी ट्रेन फर दोज स्विच. सो द्याट लर्न इन एन एब्स्ट्र्याक्ट theory, hypothesis, process in your mind, bring out something concrete that is doable. And this is how the education makes it perfect use. Okay? So thank you. So there's no billion writer left for me. I don't want to be on this desert alone. Though I have a lots of tool on, but it is of no work. Kam लाग्छ त के? So I won't be happy to reach here no matter how much tools I have with me. What about you? So at least think of a small practices that you can switch for. Anything? You can switch for. Simplest things at your home. Thank you for being an active listener and participant.